Okay, all right. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about prison bonds and how the bonds in the prison system are paying for all the wars and everything that are going on right now. I'll try to explain it briefly. Gene Keating explains it very well, but I'll just kind of give you a short version, just a brief synopsis here. But if you're in court on a criminal charge or in a federal or state court, this is how they make money off of you. Now, what you have to understand, if you're a U.S. citizen, a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, it means you have a birth certificate. They took your birth certificate, your parents signed that and gave it to the state. They registered you with the state, which means they turned over ownership of you to the state. For example, me, the state of California, my parents turned my ownership papers over to the state, pledging all of my labor that I make throughout my life to the state of California, and they in turn make that a trust account, and then you give power of attorney with the SS-55, the Social Security. You get a Social Security number, and they take that and in turn they sell that as collateral. The federal government does for loans from the International Monetary Fund, and they actually sold your title to the IMF, which is it's not the Federal Reserve Bank, which is also a privately run organization. It's not the government. It's a privately run by oligarchs banking institution, which loans money to corporations. The U.S. government is a corporation. But anyway, so the U.S. government is bankrupt, and the only one that has any money or any credit are the U.S. citizens. They have to get it from us. And how do they do that? Well, they do it by taxing, and they do it by fees. But the real, the big cash in for them is to get people into the prison system. And they've set up a whole obstacle course when you're born. You come into life. They own the schools, so they want to get you into school as quickly as possible to train you to be a bond slave or a slave, and to operate in their system. I know it's difficult for people to understand this. It may be difficult for me to explain it in a very good way, but people should really look into this information because it's completely true. I've been studying it for like 5 years now, and it freaks me out to think about it. What's actually going on? That we are chattel or bond slaves. I mean, legally, that's what we are. We're chattel, property of a bankrupt corporation, or actually the IMF now. So we're the only ones that have credit because we were put up as a collateral for a bankrupt corporation called the U.S. Inc. So all of our labor is pledged. We have an unlimited supply of commercial credit to draw off, and that's your priority exemption account set up with the Federal Reserve Bank. So like when you get a paycheck, you work your 40, and you go to the bank, and you endorse your check, and they give you back, say, 1,000 Federal Reserve notes. They're loaning you that money. That's not, it's debt, and it's got to be paid back. I can go into all that later, but because you do have an unlimited supply of commercial credit, every time you sign your name, you're creating a security or an interest security instrument. And if all the proper four items are on the security instrument, that security instrument can be sold as a security on Wall Street as long as there's an insurance company that wants to insure it. Anyway, statutes, which there really are no laws now, there's just statutes and codes, primarily. And that, and we're primarily under the UCC, which is the Uniform Commercial Code, which is the law of the land now. And officially that last piece of that puzzle went into place sometime in the 60s or the 70s, I believe. The last piece of it got down into the state courts. But so the statutes, which are made by Congress, now 75% of all Congress are attorneys or esquires. Even the President of the United States is an esquire, and they're members of a private institution. It's called the Bar Association, which stands for the British Accredited Registry. So they work for the Temple Bar, basically, who owns all the statutes and codes. There's 60 million of them, and their job is to put more statutes and codes on the books to charge you, to get money from you, so that, for one, they can pay back the bankers, and number two, they have money to operate. So it's a huge, it's just a huge scam, and it's, believe me, you want to go down the rabbit hole, forget about all the other stuff. This is where it's at. Statutes are bonds. And what you actually find out is if a group of people, or say a large corporation, wants to initiate a new law in Congress, what they'll do is they'll put a lobby together, and they'll lobby Congress, say, hey, we need a law, for this, and if they have enough money to lobby Congress and give them any congressman to go along with it, then that bill, because they're billing you, becomes a law, or a new statute and a new code. And usually what you're finding out right now is the members, or the corporations in the privately run prison system, are doing the majority of lobbying of Congress for new statutes and codes, because they're finding this is a huge way to make money. So let's get into this really quick. So statutes are bonds. Courtroom charges are all civil, not criminal. Clerk's praxis, and that's spelled Praxis, was the court of arches under the King's Bench at the time of Edward I. It's a court of probates. So John Hall wrote this book. I actually have this book, and I can get you a copy if you want to go to my blog. It's stopthepiratestopblogspot.com. So John Hall, you should get it for your whole family and read it. It's not that long of a book. So anyway, he wrote in his book, this was used in vice admiralty courts in the colonies in the American Revolution, and it's actually what caused the American Revolution. Everything involves bonds. When you are arrested, there are two different set of bonds. A bid bond is filled out when you are arrested. The U.S. District Court uses standard form 273, 274, and 275. I also have copies of these bonds. If you want them, go to stopthepiratestopblogspot.com. There's another set of forms, a set put out by the GSA. Standard form 24, it is the bid bond. The performance bond is standard form 25. The payment bond is standard form 25A. These are all out of the GSA under the Comptroller of the Currency, under the GAO, which is the General Accounting Office. So SF 273, 274, 275 are the bonds for federal level courts to use. And what they are doing with these bonds in the courtroom, you are being sued for debt collection. So it's all about money, people. And you'll see that the mind manipulation through the TV and everything, they have these law dramas on TV. It's all done as a psyop, or psychological operation, or disinformation operation, to get you to believe that you're actually getting a fair trial. But this is the real info, and I don't even think they teach attorneys this. And you got to be like an upper level, higher level judge to know this stuff, because people have been going along with the program for so long. They just go into court and they got a charge, and they usually plead down, sign the paperwork, and then do their time and get out. But anyway, standard form 273, 274, 275 are the bonds for federal level courts to use, and so it's a debt collection. It's an action of a sumpsit. The word presumed comes from a sumpsit, which means I agree or I undertook to do. A sumpsit means collection of a debt. All these bonds have a penal sum attached to it. If you go into default judgment, you end up in prison wondering what the hell's going on. And if you argue jurisdiction, there's a lot of people out there saying, you got to, they have to establish jurisdiction. But according to this, and it makes sense to me, arguing jurisdiction isn't the right thing to do, because once you argue, which is what they want you to do, you go into dishonor, and they will charge you with contempt of court. So